about the difference between Horatio and Marcellus.
This call is now being recorded.
We said something about the point of the difference between Horatio and Marcellus, and to what extent this difference between the two characters signifies a difference in ideological, let me say, or in philosophy. Now, yes, we said that difference refers to what? Refers to the fact that each one of the characters represents a specific philosophy, specific ideology. Horatio is close to to religious ideas. Marcellus is more of a secular character. So now another part in scene 5, another part of the platform, the Ghost and Hamlet. Where will thou lead me? Speak, I'll go no further. What we read from this line, or what we find in this line, is a continuation of the same confusion, the same uncertainty which we often, let me say, find in spiritual points or spiritual matters. That confusion was quite apparent when we first noticed the meeting between Hamlet and the Ghost, and the fact that Hamlet was not quite sure whether the Ghost belonged to heaven or to hell. So now we have what? We have the same idea, the same confusion. It is, let me say, the continuity of what? Of the confusion. Where will thou lead me? Speak, I'll go no further. So he wants the Ghost to what? He wants the Ghost to talk. He wants the Ghost to tell him. He wants the Ghost to speak with him about what? About the mission, the message the Ghost was to deliver. Mark me, pay attention to me, listen to me carefully. I want you to notice how the ghost is trying to play a role, to play the role of the father. By the way, the meeting between Hamlet and the Ghost can be taken as what? As an attempt to create or to recreate the relation between Hamlet the prince and Hamlet the king, the son and the father, the relation that we spectators and readers, we were not able to see on the stage. And in this case, we can compare and contrast this. We can compare and contrast this relation with the relation we have, for example, between Claudius and Hamlet, and Polonius and Laertes. You see, when we compare, for example, with Polonius and Laertes, we can see that we are talking about real human beings. We are talking about real son and father. They can meet, they can discuss, they can, they are having normal relations, in spite of the fact that we might raise some questions concerning that relation. Of course, in addition to what we have to say about Hamlet and Claudius, and the fact that Hamlet is not willing to be very close to the king. Now we have this relation between Hamlet and the Ghost, man and supernatural element, a father and a son and a spirit of a father. They are not meeting in let me say, in a normal situation. No, they are meeting at night. They are not supposed to be seen by other people. Some sort of privacy and secrecy is what is covering everything. So now the ghost is talking about the condition, his condition. My hour is almost come when I, to sulphurous and tormenting flames, must render up myself. Alas, poor ghost, Hamlet tries to show his sympathy, sorrow for the ghost. Look at the way the ghost is talking. Look at the way the ghost is talking. Pity me not. Pity me not. I mean, sense of seriousness, sense of, let me say, strength maybe on the part of the ghost. We can see this seriousness in the way he talks, in the way he delivers some of his statements. Pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold. So I have a serious message and I want you to hear. Speak, I am bound to hear. I'm bound, I mean, I have some sort of commitment. A commitment of a son in front of the father. If you remember, Claudius talking about this, it is quite commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to show sorrow and sadness for your father. That was the beginning of that commitment. Yeah, a father, a son has to show some respect, has to express sadness when it comes to when it comes to the father, when it comes to the death of the father. So it's not a matter of shedding tears. It's not a matter of weeping. It's not a matter of sorrow. It's not simply sorrow. It's not simply sadness. No. So art thou to revenge when thou shalt hear? Hearing now, here is conditioned. Hearing should lead to what? Revenge. It's not only hearing, no, but you hear, and what after that you have to take a serious measure, a serious step in terms of revenge. What? So now, the idea of revenge is what is presented in a very practical and very strong, in a crystal clear way, let me say. Now, I am thy father's spirit. This is a very important revelation. This is for the first time we see. Now, the ghost is telling Hamlet that I am your father's spirit. I am thy father's spirit. Doomed for a certain time to walk the night, and for the day to confine to fast in fires, till the full crimes done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away. So this might give us an indication that the previous king has not been given the chance to confess, because according to the Catholic Church, if you don't confess, you have to suffer. You are going to suffer for what? For a while, until someone is going to correct things in order to find purification or things like that. So if you die without confessing your sins, you are going to suffer for what? For a period of time. Then he will go on in order to describe what? In order to describe the suffering, the extent of suffering experienced by him. Look at this line. But that I am forbid to tell the secrets of my prison house. Means they have certain rules, they have certain regulations. And because of these rules or because of these regulations, he is not able to talk about everything. He is not able to tell everything. I could a tale unfold whose lightest word would horror of thy soul freeze thy young blood. I want you to notice the difference between between freeze and young blood, and how this difference or this contrast is used by the dramatist to show us the suffering or the extent of suffering, because we know young blood is often hot. Young people are often hot-blooded. So the dramatist is using or making use of this in order to to give us an indication about the suffering experienced by the ghost. Then, in the last line, is saying this: list, if thou didst ever die, dear father's love. So, and now, and a sort of what? Sort of insistence, sort of, let me say, the fact that the ghost is urging, is asking Hamlet to listen as a condition of love. I mean, you have to listen carefully in order to prove that you are really what? You are really the son of what? Of King Hamlet. Revenge is full and most unnatural murder. Why unnatural? One might ask. Why unnatural? It is unnatural because it has been done by what? Why unnatural?
It has done by a brother, absolutely.
Yes.
It's unnatural.
Yes, it has been done by a brother. A brother killing a brother. So this is why it is unnatural. And if you remember, Hamlet, when he said, little than kin, less than kind. Little than kin, more than kin, less than kind. Sorry, more than kin, less than kind. Less than kind means less than natural. Because by killing King Hamlet, Claudius became what? Claudius became, or made the relation unnatural. We call it fratricide. Killing a brother by a brother, it is called fratricide. Murder must fall as in the best it is, but this must fall strange and unnatural. Okay. Hamlet hates me to know it. Look at Hamlet and how he is eager to go to this revenge. And here we raise a question. Is Hamlet going to be, let me say, a typical revenger? Or what do we expect from a typical revenger? What you expect from a typical revenger is action. Is real action. Not only words. And we have to differentiate.
Yes, that means the man of the action.
Yes. We have to differentiate between the man of action and the man of words in Hamlet's character, because the two characters are going to be quite apparent. They are going to be very clear in Hamlet's character. So, haste me to know it, that I, with wings as swift as meditation or the thoughts of love, may sweep to my revenge. He wants to go to revenge very quickly. He wants to be what? He wants to be the revenger. What? Very quickly. Okay. This is quite questionable. I mean, we are going to see that these lines might not go with Hamlet, because Hamlet, you'll see in the process of time that Hamlet is not that man who is really fond of action. No. He might be fond of, sometimes he will do something, sometimes he will act, but, generally he is not that man that can be taken as what? As a real revenger. Now, look at the slide. Now Hamlet, here, it's given out. Now the ghost will talk about the story which has been circulated by Claudius, which has been mentioned by Claudius. Now Hamlet here, it's given out. It's given out that sleeping in my orchard, a serpent stung me. So the whole air of Denmark is by a forged process of my death, rankly abused. Here, Claudius was talking about what he used to tell the people things which are not true. He used to tell the people a story about the death of the previous king, which is not true, or at least it is not true according to what is said by the ghost. That sleeping in my orchard, a serpent stung me, and so the whole year of Denmark is by a forged process of my death rankly abused. Such stories, or such a story mentioned by Claudius, actually poisoned or spoiled the mentality of the people. Spoiled that mentality, poisoned that mentality, forced them to believe in things which are not true. Here, poison is not a real poison, but it is a figurative or a metaphoric. When you tell someone a story in order to change his mentality, in order to change his point of view, this means that you are what? You are poisoning that mentality or that mind by using words. You remember Claudius, for example. Claudius used to talk about Hamlet as being a character who doesn't appreciate religion, who doesn't evaluate religion, incorrect to heaven, against God, impious stubbornness, such phrases. And those phrases were used basically to what? Basically to refer to this, that you are not supposed to what? That Hamlet is not a man who appreciates religion. Soon after that, we can see in Hamlet's soliloquy that is not true. That is not true. That Hamlet, in spite of the fact that he wants to commit suicide, but this is not possible because this is what he knows that this is against heaven. This is just an example. By telling people stories which were not true, the whole year of Denmark, by a forced process of my death, rankly abused. He's telling them what? He's telling them stories which are not true about the death of the king, and in this case, there is some sort of what? Something wrong done in the what? In the ranks or in the kingdom. Because who's supposed to be the king? Hamlet is supposed to be the king. Hamlet is supposed to be the king, but because of the stories, because of the lies, because of poisoning the people's mentality, Claudius managed in snatching the throne. So this is the outcome of what? Of this process, this forged process. The outcome is what? Is Claudius became the king. Now Hamlet is supposed to what? Hamlet is supposed to get rid of this. I mean, to correct things. Of course, by what? By revenge. Okay, now noble youth. The serpent that sting thy father's life. Now, where's the crown? Now, the serpent is what? Is Claudius. The serpent is Claudius. I want you to notice how the ghost talks about Claudius, how he describes Claudius. The serpent, for example, and he will use several adjectives, several attributes in order to describe him. Oh, my prophetic soul, my anchor. So he knows that Claudius is what? Claudius is involved in the crime. We don't know how can Hamlet get that impression or get that feeling, but he knows. okay, that incestuous, that adulterate beast. So he describes the incestuous, adulterate beast who is able to use witchcraft in order to seduce what? In order to seduce the queen. Then he will tell the ghost, will tell the true story. Earlier, he mentioned what? He mentioned the story as it is mentioned by Claudius. Now he will tell the true story. Sleeping within my orchard, my custom always of the afternoon, upon my secure hour, thy uncle stole with the juice of an. Your uncle came. It was not a servant. No, your uncle came and put poison in my ear. So we have a story told by Claudius and a story told by the ghost. Are you going to go? Are you going to believe in Claudius or to believe in the ghost? This is, of course, a wonderful job done by the dramatist in order to what? In order to test our mind, to test our mentality. Okay. Of course, killing King Hamlet basically means that he's what? He lost his life, he lost the crown, and he lost the queen. Not only this, but he had done everything in order to what? Because of the fact that he was murdered without giving him a chance to confess. Concerning the queen, and whether or not the queen is involved in the crime or not, look at this. Nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother, but leave her to heaven, and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to break and sting her. What can we find in this line? What can we notice in this line? What does the ghost want, or what does he want to say? Students, are you listening?
If you don't mind, just the lines. Read it again.
Nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught, leave her to heaven, and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to break and sting her. These lines.
I think that is talking about the heaven and talking about the sins which arrived by the Claudius. That means just let it to the heaven; it will know everything.
Yeah. Leave her to heaven. This is the point. Doesn't necessarily mean that she is not involved in the crime or that she is not a sinner. But God knows everything. So if she is a sinner, she'll be punished. If not, she will not be punished. And we have an indication, or we have indications that she is a sinner. Look at these words: thorns to break and sting her. These are good indications that she is what? That she is, in a way or another, she she's a sinner, or she took part in the crime. And then finally the ghost is asking Hamlet not to forget him. Remember me. And we have what? We have a short soliloquy in which Hamlet expresses his suffering, his psychological implications, and so on. And in order to prove this remembrance, Hamlet will what? Hamlet will wipe away all trivial forms, recursos of books, forms, precious past. He will what? He will delete everything from his memory. In order to what? In order to concentrate on what? On revenge. But we raise a question again. If he's going to delete everything, how can he be, let me say, a revenger? I mean, how can he make sure that he will fulfill that revenge in a proper way? I mean, we need if we want to say that someone is going to be a revenger, so we have to make use of his experience, his reading, his school maybe, his memory. So everything should be what? Everything should be available for him in order to what? In order to be a typical revenger. So if he's going to leave that, if he's going to forget about everything, if he's going to delete everything, things will be what? Will be difficult. And he will write certain words in order to what? In order to, let me say, to give depth to the idea said by the ghost. In order to give us the impression that, yes, what is said by the ghost is what is profound, is really important. Marcellus and Horatio are talking, but they are not on the stage. We listen to them. Lord Hamlet, having secured him, and Hamlet will come, and sometimes he will say certain words which are, let me say, quite, they show the confusion. They are not understood. And they will ask him, what news, my lord? And Hamlet is not willing to talk. Because he believes that the friends are going to what? Reveal. You will reveal it. And they will tell him, no, we are friends. We are friends, and we are not going to reveal anything. And he will finally decide to what? Of course, he will ask them to swear on a sword. But before that, let us read some lines. There is never a villain dwelling in all Denmark, but he is an arrant knave. Who's the villain in the play? Who's the villain in the play? What do you think?
I think Claudius.
Claudius. What is the job of the villain? What is the job of the villain? What do we expect from a villain?
Everything bad?
Bad. Is it trouble?
The sense and yes.
Yeah. Horatio, there is no ghost, my lord, come from the grave to tell us this, as if he wants to say that we know the villain. We know the villain. Okay. So the point here is that Hamlet wants his friends not to talk about what happened in the in this night. And we remember that those friends, they know about the ghost. They told Hamlet about the ghost, and they chose Hamlet because they know that Hamlet is close to the what? Close to the ghost, at least in terms of description. This line. And now, good friends, as you are friends, scholars, and soldiers, give me one poor request. What is Hamlet's request? What is Hamlet's poor request? What is Hamlet's poor request? Hamlet's poor request is this: never make known what you have seen tonight. Okay, so this is the request. My lord, you will not know, nay, but swear it upon my sword. Why Hamlet chose the sword, or the handle of the sword, to swear? What does it signify? What does it symbolize? It signifies Christianity, the symbol of Christianity. It refers to Christianity. Not only this, the ghost is also talking. The ghost is also talking. Swear is asking them. We listen to the sound. Swear. Okay? The sound of the ghost refers to what? A continuation of power. That the previous king is given a chance to be available, because his death was abnormal, was unnatural. Propose the oath, my lord. What do you want us to say? Because when you swear, you have there must be an oath, specific words to say. Never to speak of this that you have seen. And again, the ghost is also repeating, swear. And sometimes Hamlet is saying certain words which are not clear, as a sign of what? Of his confusion. Sometimes he says Hamlet is going to say certain words which can be taken as a sign of confusion, cannot be understood because they are they mean nothing. They are not in line with the idea or the ideas he is expressing. And again, the ghost is also repeating swear. This is more interesting, strange, yes. For Horatio and how he understands the ghost and how he approaches the ghost, if you remember early in the play, he used to say that this is imagination, not true. But he was forced to what he was forced to accept it. He was forced to believe in it. But this doesn't mean that he is going to believe it or he will take it seriously. I mean, 100% seriously. And Hamlet is telling him that your philosophy cannot explain everything. Your teaching, your education, your university cannot explain everything, because have so many things that cannot be explained in terms of science. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Okay. So these are the, we're going to stop here for the time being, okay? Inshallah, we're going to continue the next lecture. I'll send you the link for your attendance. For the attendance, it will be available.